Let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Bill Weber. I am the coordinator of the Undergraduate Rehabilitation Services Program at Stephen F. Austin State University. And it's in the little town of Nacogdoches. Guys, Nacogdoches, said Weber, we heard through the grapevine that you're going out to West Texas. They said, please, please, please invite all those folks in West Texas to come over and see us. We love visitors. They spend money. They create jobs in our little town. Please come over. Do I have any fishermen in here? No fishermen? Okay. Guys, some of the best bass fishing in the entire United States, Toledo Bend and Lake Sam Rayburn, about 40 miles from Nacogdoches, okay? So, Nacogdoches, we consider ourselves to be the oldest town in East Texas. We also have lots and lots and lots of pine trees. Now, I was a boy that grew up in Parker County outside of Fort Worth, a little town called Weatherford, Texas, where you could see for miles and miles and miles, and I moved to Nacogdoches and I could see 3 feet, okay? Lots of pine trees, lots of pine trees. But anyway, very glad to be with you this afternoon. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't, there we go. If I didn't show you the class clock, okay? It says 12:50. The students gave me that clock about 4 years ago, and they asked me to be sure and take it with me to Abilene. I thought it was a gift about 3 or 4 years ago from the students. They said, Dr. Weber, we want to give you a clock. And I said, great, it's going to be beautiful in my office. No, Dr. Weber, it's for you to take the class, okay? To help remind you how much time we have left, okay? So I was getting ready to do this presentation, and I was going over with the students of the things that I wanted to cover with you. And one of the students in the back of the class said, Dr. Weber, take the clock. Okay, so at 2 p.m. we're going to have a break. I'm old. 2 p.m. we're going to have a break, okay, and I think they're bringing cookies and other stuff, right? Is that the plan? Okay, all right, okay. I began my career, my first job in rehabilitation was on December the 18th, 1970. So I've been at it for about 48 years. This last week when I gave that information to the students, one of the freshmen said, oh my gosh, that was right after the Civil War. And I told her, well, yes ma'am, a little bit after the Civil War, but we were at war and nobody was civil when we were during that period of time. Yeah, been at it a long time. Began my career working as a VR counselor down in Galveston and had a chance to get into the academic business and looked at the breaks that they have and the chance to work with students, and I said, I'm sold, I'm gone, okay? But I've been involved in rehab all of these years. It was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me as we go on, but this afternoon, primarily what I wanted to talk with you about is to give you a model for person-centered career planning that is the new emphasis, or not new, but it's an emphasis from the Texas Workforce Commission. And my plan is to actually cover 5 things with you this afternoon, okay? I want to talk to you about the first stage of person-centered career planning, and that is the person-centered career meeting, okay? I want to talk to you also about how we go about doing evaluation, our vocational evaluation, our vocational assessment that would be helpful, at least in what you're trying to do. I also want to talk with you about a new push or new focus on customized employment and how you can get paid for that activity, okay? And then I also want to talk to you about some potential employers to help you in the area of job site evaluation and customized employment. And lastly, I want to talk to you about scholarships that are available if you have any staff that are trying to get their degree, and also free workshops or low cost of training available for you, and some additional information that might be helpful, okay? So those are the 5 things that I want to try to cover with you this afternoon, but also I'm trying to be mindful of the clock, okay? All right, the students asked me to be sure and do that. Okay. Guys, I've been at this a long time, and I'd like to try to emphasize to you that you probably, a lot of you are maybe old timers like me, and you've seen all sorts of change, okay? Sometimes the change was such that it felt like your whole ground was coming out from under you, you know, just overwhelmed with the amount of change. And I tell the students that I work with, I said, hey guys, what Weber is telling you today is not necessarily what it's going to be like in 2 years or 3 years, that things will continue to change, okay? And there'll be, and I've given them the Weber sign, okay? And that Weber sign is that there'll be continuing pressures to increase the quality of services, and at the same time to do what we can to reduce the cost. That seems to be certainly true in the private sector, and I think most of us are feeling it also in the public sector as well. That continuing force in that direction, okay? Those forces continue, and that my students particularly are going to really feel the brunt of that force. So how can we do better, and how can we do it cheaper? And I tell the students that what's really important, guys, is to try to hang on to your beliefs. It's your beliefs that provide some stability as we go through all of the changes and the continuing changes that will be occurring. So let's just kind of explore some of the beliefs that we have as a group related to working with people with disabilities. And it is a privilege for me to work with students because these are kids, at least in my programs, they're not chasing money. What they're looking for is a career working with individuals where they can make a difference in their lives. And that's what we're all about, is it not, in rehabilitation and the kind of work that we do. Okay, so just some of those beliefs that you and I share, whether you're working as CRP or in the area of vocational rehabilitation. And those beliefs are that all people, regardless of the type and severity of their disability, have unique talents and gifts to offer the community. That everybody has a right to make a contribution to society. We all have something to contribute. Second, that persons with disabilities can work at competitive wages and make that economic contribution to society. The strong beliefs that persons with disabilities can have a vision of a desirable future for themselves, just as you and I can, right? We all have, and you worked a little bit on it during the break, right? Your dream job. Well, guess what? A lot of the folks that we work with also have ideas of what a dream job would be. The belief that career planning is based upon capacity. What are the person's strengths? What are their interests? What are their hopes and preferences for employment? We all have those particular. We all have strengths. We all have interests. We all have hopes and preferences, guys. And as you know, many of the folks we work with they're just as strong in your individuals as well. So what happens is person-centered career planning is designed to enhance those beliefs, to contribute to those beliefs, to help us be more effective in working with individuals, okay? And essentially, person-centered career planning focuses not on what the planner will do, but working along with the individual with those who know him best to try to develop a plan to help him achieve his goals. So when I first started in rehab, the focus was on me to try to sit down with a client and work just with a client to try to come up with a plan. With person-centered career planning, what they're saying is it involves not only you, the person in the facility, and the individual, but it also involves the extended members, like family members, aunts, uncles, anybody that's involved with the individual that can bring support to and help in trying to implement the plan, okay? That in essence what it is building a team to help this person move forward in their career planning. Okay. Now, for those of you guys that are, and I bet I have some folks that are involved in supported employment in here, right? Do we have any supported employment folks? Good, Michael. Okay. For this, Michael, it's going to be a little bit of a review, okay? All right. Basically, what person-centered career planning does is it says that when natural and informal supports and customized services are woven in to the plan, then basically the individual can obtain what they need to try to achieve their goal, okay? And doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be completely successful, but at least we're moving forward in trying to come close to what the individual wants to do. Okay. And those supports, typically, guys, are those who know the individual the best. Family members, friends, relatives, and particularly you guys who are the supervisors in the CRP who've been working with the individual. You have a lot to contribute to help that person from the standpoint of moving forward. Okay? Now, but what it comes down to is at least with person-centered career planning, guys, it's where to work is a person's choice. What supports are needed to try to locate the job, it's the person's decision. How to show the employer their personal strengths and talents, it's the individual's decision, not the planner, it's the individual, okay? So it's also the individual decides how they're going to present their attributes and needs to the employer, what supports are going to be needed to try to perform the job, what supports are needed to try to communicate with others on the job, what supports are needed to try to make friends on the job. All of that are basically decisions that come from the individual, not necessarily from the person working with the individual. You can help, you can suggest, but it's the person who has to make the decisions, at least with person-centered career planning. All right, so also, who's going to provide the supports that are needed to maintain the employment? Again, it's that individual's decision of the folks that I need to try to help me try to not only obtain the job, but try to maintain the job. Now, guys, those supports can include individuals. They can include technology, like Dr. Weber, we suggest you take a clock to class to help you stay on time, okay? So let's stop for just a minute, okay? We've been talking. I'm gonna get a couple of volunteers here. Ma'am, your name?
Rosario.
Rosario?
Yes.
Rosario, thank you very much. Could I get you to help me for a minute, Rosario? Great, excellent. Michael, would you help me here for just a minute? Great, could I get you to stand up here for me, Michael? Rosario, if I could get you to stand right here for me, that would be great. And if I could get you to face this way. Michael, if I could get you to face this way. Great, okay. Are you ready? Now, Michael, all you have to do is to repeat after me, okay? Now, wait a minute. When was the last time you stood up and somebody said, repeat after me?
About 36 years ago.
What happened?
I got married.
Oh my. Well, we that won't happen this afternoon. Okay, very good, Michael.
Can't do it twice.
Huh?
Not twice.
Not twice. Once was enough, huh? Right. Okay, excellent. Rosario, I want to give you a card, okay? Now, Rosario, we're going to pretend that this is your card, okay? Okay. So, Rosario, if you will just repeat after me, okay? Guys, let me introduce you folks. Michael is from a CRP, okay? Rosario just flew in from Washington, okay? And Rosario, you're from the U.S. Department of Education, Rehabilitation Services Administration.
That's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, congratulations. You bet, okay? And you're a WIOA specialist. A WIOA specialist, okay? So now, Rosario, your job this afternoon is to talk really fast, okay? Okay, or pretty fast, okay? The first thing I'd like for you to do, Rosario, is to show Michael your identification, okay? But when they come from Washington, it's not just, okay? So, if you would introduce yourself to Michael. I'm Rosario.
Hi, I'm Rosario.
From
the
Rehabilitation Services Administration.
Rehabilitation Services Administration.
I'm a specialist, a WIOA specialist.
WIOA specialist.
Okay. I'm stationed outside of Washington because they're never from Washington. It's Alexandria, Virginia.
Outside of Washington.
Outside of Washington. And I've come down to especially visit with you.
And I've come down to especially visit with you.
Okay, and we need to talk. Michael, when a woman says, you've been married what, 36 years? 36 years. When a woman says, we need to talk, does that mean we're going to sit down and have a conversation?
No.
No? What does it mean, Michael?
I've done something wrong.
36 years. He is well trained, guys. Well trained. Okay. Well, Michael, we need to talk. Okay. The first thing I want to know is I have been looking at your person-centered career planning, and I want to know your rationalization for the approach that you've taken.
So the first thing I'd like to know is in reviewing your person-centered plans, I'd like to understand the rationale behind the approach you've been using.
Okay. Okay, ready, Michael? Okay. Oh, I'm really glad you asked.
I'm so glad you asked about that.
Yeah. We basically looked at several different models.
We've basically looked at about several different models.
One of the models we looked at was Falvey's MAPS model.
And one of the ones we looked at was Falvey's MAPS model.
But it is more related to integration of special education students.
But it's more related to integration of special education students.
We were more focused on the issue of mainstream employment.
But we were more focused on mainstream employment.
Yes, and so we decided to go with Wayman's path model.
So we decided to go with Wayman's path model.
Path model.
Path model.
Particularly looking at, in a review of literature, at the last 15 or 20 articles within the last 3 or 4 years.
And basically we looked at 20 articles, the last 20 articles in the last 20 to 30 years?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, okay. All right, Rosario, would you like to move on to the next issue?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sounds pretty good, okay. So, Michael, could you explain your rationale for job choice and vocational assessment with the client as required by the WIO regulations?
So Michael, can you explain the decision for job choice and vocational rehabilitation as required by WIOA?
The vocational assessment
The
requirement.
vocational assessment requirement.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm really glad you asked about that.
I'm
Okay.
really glad you asked about that.
Right. As you know, in vocational assessment, there are a lot of different ways of going about vocational assessment.
In vocational assessment, there's a lot of different ways to go about it.
And what we tried to do was to focus on the method of vocational assessment that had the greatest predictive validity, meaning that the results from the assessment would lead to success in the particular employment. Would you like me to further discuss the issue of predictive validity from a statistical standpoint?
I would.
Rose,
Yes, please.
yeah, okay. So, some of the other approaches, as you know, include paper and pencil tests.
Some of the other approaches included paper and pencil tests.
But with at least from the research literature on this particular population, job site evaluation appears to be the best approach, at least from the major writings in vocational assessment.
We found that from the major writings in vocational assessment that the pencil paper
Yeah, we're not very helpful.
were not very helpful.
But job site evaluation appeared to be very helpful.
But the job site evaluations tended to be very helpful.
For instance, would you like me to give you an example?
Yes,
For
please.
instance, the person may indicate on a paper pencil assessment that they would love to work, let's say, in a hospital as maybe a nursing assistant.
We found that the individual we were working with may, when doing a paper pencil assessment, think that that's a place they might want to work might be a hospital. However,
When we place them on a job, it turns out that they faint at the sight of blood.
but when we took them to work at the hospital, we found out that they faint at the sight of blood.
Okay? Do you have any other questions regarding our assessment approach?
All of them. I have all of the questions.
Oh, it's looking good, Michael. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay. Okay. Well, could you explain your job placement strategy?
Can you help me understand your job placement strategy a little bit better?
Yes, I can.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. We decided that with the folks that we were working with, and that a better approach is what is referred to as customized employment.
We decided that with the folks we were working with, we thought that customized employment was the best way to go.
That is, working with employers to create a job that's customized for that employee.
That gives us the opportunity when we're working with employers that we can customize a job just for that particular employee.
As opposed to relying on the typical labor market demand and demand model.
As compared to relying on the labor market demand model.
Okay. Do you have any questions about, or I'm sorry, do you have any questions about that approach?
I'm impressed. That's right.
You're impressed?
Yes, I'm impressed.
Washington is
RSA,
impressed?
yes, RSA.
RSA is
Department of Education
impressed?
Yes, we're very impressed.
Okay. Michael, one thing you might want to add. If you're not satisfied, Washington, with that approach, here's Dr. Weber's number. Have them call him.
If this doesn't satisfy you, I don't know what will, but you can call Dr. Weber, and here's his number.
I certainly will. Yes, thank you.
Michael, thank you. Guys, give these guys a hand. Okay? All right. Very good. Well, that's partially of where we're going to go this afternoon, okay? All right. Very good. So, let's see if I can get out of this. Okay. So the first thing we got to address, guys, is with the focus on person-centered career planning, what's really important is a person-centered meeting, okay? Now I want to go ahead and talk to you about what I recommend from the standpoint of staffing of this approach. And again, this is a model for you to consider. We recommend that what's involved in this process are 2 part-time individuals from a staffing aspect. The first person that would be used would be a person to facilitate the meetings that the client would have, where they bring their supports in, the individuals that are going to be working toward helping them succeed. Because basically what we're doing is we're building a team for this person as opposed to you and I just working with an individual, the person as an individual. So that's the facilitator that's going to be facilitating the brainstorming meeting and the meeting where we move forward to try to help this person come up with a plan. The second person that we recommend that you have is that you have someone involved in the customized employment activity. The facilitator, we recommend that that individual have some training in facilitating groups, because the deal is it's the individual's meeting and you're going to have to try to facilitate moving this group forward as they do planning with this individual, okay? And it wouldn't be bad for the person to have some rehabilitation background or counseling background, or at least some experience in facilitating groups. The second person who's going to be working with employers, again, we only recommend just a part-time person, and the ideal person is a person that has had sales experience. That is, they've worked maybe in outside one-on-one sales, maybe for the last 20 years or so, and they've decided that they need to get off the road and they're looking for a part-time job in retirement, but they're a salesperson, okay? From my experience, and I know I'm talking heresy here, but we think it's much easier to teach a person with sales experience rehabilitation concepts and rehabilitation ideas than it is to try to teach a rehabilitation person who's had a background in counseling to try to be a salesperson, okay? That sales experience is going to be very important because they're going to be out talking to employers. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to pay for that person, okay? In particular, okay? So 2 people that are at least on a part-time basis that we would recommend, at least from my experience. The first step is the career planning meeting, okay? And I want to get into you a little bit with the nitty gritty on that. And let me cover some. Let me just show you where we're going, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the nitty gritty. First of all, at least with the PATH model, and to keep Washington happy, you probably want to follow the model, okay? So you can say we used basically Wayman's PATH model. And the model is, or the segments are, determining the dream, sensing the goal, grounding in the now, deciding who else to enroll, building strengths, and then action steps and outcomes, and then moving forward toward the job assessment process. Okay. So, in the meeting, the first thing that happened, and this is the client's meeting, okay? We're calling a meeting to help you come up with your own career plan. Remember, your role, or the person that directs this meeting, their role is to be a neutral facilitator, and they're going to need someone, unless you've got chalkboards all over, and I never did, or boards all over. So this guy, notice it's a very expensive piece of technology. Notice it's wireless, okay? It has, the bulbs don't go out in it, okay? And it is great, this particular piece of technology is great for brainstorming, and that's what you're going to be doing in this particular process, this meeting, okay? So it's to help the individual in a group to brainstorm toward a career path to pursue that we're later going to check out when we do some job site assessments, okay? So you need a flip chart, and you also need somebody, guys, maybe a part-time secretary or a part-time clerk or someone to sort of be here at the flip chart, okay, to work the flip chart. Okay,